Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Joined as always by my main man at FFSnoog. And it's an exciting time right now. I mean, the NFL Combine's wrapping up and we're starting to see what some of these rookie landscapes are going to look like. You know, we talk about watching the tape throughout February. Then we get to the Combine. Now we see a little bit more of the athletic testing and their profiles. And then we move on to the NFL Draft, which is coming up in April. And then we start to have a full picture here to help you guys smash your rookie drafts. If you guys are looking to smash those rookie drafts, hit that like and subscribe button. We're putting out content every single day. Snoog, I mean, this Combine, there was a lot of guys that really tested out well. It started to shape some of our boards. Still a lot to hash out when it comes to 112 to 212. But I'm excited to start mock drafting and see where we can look at these particular players.
Yeah, I absolutely love diving into the Combine. You know, it's the best time of the year where we get to, other than the draft, where we get to really start to put faces and, start to put, faces to picks for us and what draft capital is going to look like for a lot of these guys. So I'm excited to jump into this one, talk about a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys had themselves a day, right? And they boosted up their draft capital a lot. So kind of gives us a little bit of a direction they're steering. But I'm excited to talk about some of these guys. Some of them we've been talking about for a long time, and it's a pretty easy pick, but then it gets a little tricky after that.
What I'm really looking at when it comes to the Combine is we're trying to hit certain athletic thresholds. We're trying to be in certain areas. What I really don't like is Twitter's just all over the place right now, trying to mark their guy, trying to say, oh, well, this guy tested here, so he's not good. This guy did this, so he's good. It's a process, right? We take the tape, we combine it with the athletic profiles, and we try to hit them in certain areas, So this first guy tested off the charts. We knew he was going to, right? We saw the track speed. Jeremiah Love was, always will be the 101. It's not even close, but is he above Ashton Jeanty now? That's the real question. Like the way he looked, the way he ran drills, the way he ran at the 40, I mean, stock is through the roof.
Yeah, 436 at 212 pounds. Looked phenomenal in drills. They literally had him running wide receiver drills out there. So this pick's easy for me. I'm going to roll with him. I think he's the set it and forget it 101 in every single format. Blue chip workhorse, running back prospect, going to go top, 8 to 10 in the draft. I personally don't see him getting past like top 7 or 8. Like I think Commanders, Saints guaranteed a lock to take him if he falls. I think the Titans take him at 4. I think the Cardinals could take him at 3. It comes to a point in a weak draft that where it's like take the best player on the board, and he's the best player on probably everybody's board in this entire draft. So he's going to be a guy from day one that can put up 350 plus fantasy points as a rookie in this offense with that capital.
What's wild is he reminds me a lot, like athletically he tested like Jahmyr Gibbs, but he reminds me more of Bijan Robinson. He's almost like a bigger Gibbs or a faster Bijan. I'm not saying he's going to be there, but this guy literally has Dynasty RB1 overall upside. Like this is someone that you have to look at and try to understand that this guy is the real deal, and we are looking at, I love this. We got super chats coming in already. Wasn't the plan, but just incredible. Who's the best second round value in the draft for you right now? Hey, we are going to go over the entire top 24. And when we get there, I'm definitely going to hit that up for you guys. I love this. Justin's a part of the Patreon. He's it's been growing like crazy of late. I have so many guys in there, over 1,000 at this point. Right now is the best time to join because you have everything that's going on from the Combine, from your rookie drafts, everything that you need all in one place. Patreon.com/SmashAccept. Justin, we will definitely get to your question once we get into round 2. I'm super excited that you guys are tuning into the live show because this one, we're coming at you early in the morning. We're just trying to crank out some content, give you the best we can. And love is definitely the best you can. For me, the 102 hasn't changed. I realize that there are 3 really good wide receivers in this class and a tight end that looks to be very elite. But Fernando Mendoza, for me, checks all the boxes. He's got the size. He's got if he goes to the Raiders, he's going to have the coaching staff. He's got the moxie to get it done. He's got that confidence. He looks like a natural leader. A lot of things that we've lacked in quarterbacks in the past, right? We've said, well, this quarterback's good at this, or that quarterback's good at this, or he has some character issues. We're not 100% sure. Mendoza checks all the boxes for me. And I think a guy that really takes care of the football, potentially paired up with Brock Bowers, Ashton Jeanty, Kubiak, Brady. I just don't see a scenario where I'm taking anybody else at the 102 unless, and this is the key, unless, Snoog, this is where I start to look at, is it a 8 team? Then I'm not touching Mendoza. A 10 team, I'm probably going Lemon or Tate. 12 team Superflex with 6-point passing. I feel like he's the lock in at 102. When you go down to 4-point passing touchdowns, maybe you dip down a little bit. But I mean, I think Fernando Mendoza right now, my dynasty quarterback 14, he's on the fringe top 12. And that's where we are at with the landscape, because we have rookies from last year a little bit older, you know, and we're starting to see the Goffs and the Daks and the Bakers aging out a little bit from that apex of value. And I think Fernando Mendoza is just a can't miss type prospect. Is he going to be QB1 overall? No. I think I comped him to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence before this year, right, was always in that QB 12 to 14 range. I think that's where Mendoza is gonna sit, but he could have a spike year here and there, like Trevor Lawrence just did, where Lawrence finished in the top 6 quarterbacks. So I like Fernando Mendoza too. I don't think you can fault the pick. At the same time, there's a lot of guys in this area where you have to at least like what you see coming out of that 103 range. We had our guy, Bryce DeGroat was at the combine himself. He had the question from Makai Lemon. It got a little interesting. You know, he had that demon look in his eyes. That's your wide receiver 1. You're taking him here at 3. He's been your guy the entire process. There's nothing at the combine showed that he isn't still that for you.
Yeah, I think he's just projecting to be the best fantasy asset out of these guys. I mean, I think Carnell Tate, if I was going to draft as an NFL GM, I'd take Carnell Tate, first wide receiver off the board. I just think Lemon just projects a little bit better from like a high volume type of perspective, like we've seen with Amon-Ra, like we've seen with JSN, like these type of guys in this mold. I do think Lemon's situation matters a little bit more than Carnell Tate's, where rather Carnell Tate's, plug and play in there. But I think it's tough. It's Garrett Wilson, Drake London for me all over again. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors all over again for me, just from like I don't know who I like better. They're both nasty. I'm just going to take probably whoever goes to the better spot. But for me, it's Lemon right here, just based on the profile and what I've done from like a tape perspective. He averaged 3+ yards per out run versus man in zone throughout his career. He also averaged just an entire 3+ yards per out run throughout his entire career in general. So it's like what he was doing from a productive standpoint, playing with other NFL talent like Zachariah Branch, Jacoby Lane, and some of these other guys, and just dominating. I think he's just so good to be an NFL, wide receiver 1 and for fantasy football and dynasty at 21 years old. He checks every box.
My man, Jay Shimosky dropping a for the love of the game in here. We really appreciate that. Love that you guys tune in live. Again, every Tuesday, we're going 9:30 Eastern Standard Time with our trade show. And hot off the press, last week, our first show of it, we're doing our roster review breakdowns. We're already booked out for 2 weeks. But if you guys want to see us break down other people's rosters or potentially yours, every Monday, Snoog, 8 o'clock. Sound like a plan to you?
Yep. I love it. 8 p.m. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. The next one for me, and this is still, I got to be honest, he's still my wide receiver 1. And I think a lot of people, like Carnell Tate is a set it and forget it for me. I said he is a polished George Pickens. George Pickens ran at a 4.49. Carnell Tate ran at a 4.53, 4.54, and people are acting like his career's over. I was talking about people moving him down. Snoog, here's a list of guys and their 40 times, either at their pro day or at the combine. CeeDee Lamb, 4.5. Amon-Ra, 4.51. Rashee Rice, 4.51. T. Higgins, 4.54. Devontae Adams, 4.56. Puka Nacua, 4.57. You don't have to run an elite 40 when you're an elite separator. You're an elite contested catch receiver where he was caught 11 out of 12 balls. You get open. That's the most important part, right? You look at Amon-Ra's St. Brown's game and you don't say, oh man, he doesn't run in a 4.4. I don't like him. Dude separates. He gets open all the time. CeeDee Lamb, there's game speed and then there's running in your underwear. All right. And for me, Carnell Tate, when I watched the tape, he was getting to the second level all the time. This is someone that I absolutely love. I think he's a set it and forget it. He's going to be a top 12 dynasty wide receiver. Honestly, we saw Emeka Ibuka shoot into the top 10 after 3 games. I can see Carnell Tate doing that quite easily. I can see Makai Lemon doing that quite easily. I mean, the landscape of the dynasty wide receiver right now, after 6, we're looking at guys that are a little bit older. So when these 2 guys pop off, both of them, 21 years old, when these guys pop off, their value is going to skyrocket. And when people say this class is bad, I have a little bit of a news flash for you. Just shut up. Like the top 5 and 6 are really, really good. Like we're talking about potentially top 12 at their position. Now, 7 to 11, okay, it's a little dicey, but I think there's upside. 11 to 24, okay, pick your poison, right? Last year, we were a little bit different. Last year, we're like, okay, and even the year before that, we're like, there's 8 top level prospects, and then we're going to move into that 9 to 15. This year's a little bit different. But anybody that tells you flat out with a blanket statement says 2026 class is bad, trade out. That's just dumb. You're not trying to find any value. You're literally just cutting yourself off. You can't do that. Carnell Tate's going to be great. I think this next guy is as well. And I don't think him not running at the combine hurts his stock. He stays right in the middle.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Jordan Tyson here. I will say if this was Smash Leagues formats, I really think there's a different conversation here at 5 where you could go
debate
with the film, the combine, the production that I've seen with this guy. He's a freaking absolute specimen. He has the upside to be like a Vernon Davis level, like vertical threat, crazy athlete. But I'm going to go with Tyson here. I'm just going to go with Tyson here for the format because it's to the general. If it's not like 0.75 tight end premium, I think I'm just going to lean the wide receiver here. I think Tyson's starting to get to the point where he's just super undervalued and people are kind of steering away from him because he's not participating in the drills, the combine. He's just losing that steam because he's been talked about for a while. And I think there's prospect fatigue going on with him. 2+, 7+ career yards per out run. That's great numbers there from a production standpoint. He was like the clear guy there at Arizona State, even when it was, him, Levitt, and Scatabo. He was absolutely dominant there. So 105, I think it was a clear tier break after the 5. I think it's kind of getting closer to 6 now. But I think Tyson, next gen stats has him as an 84, second highest in the class. He reminds me a lot of like that Brandon Ayuk, like quick, release, twitchy guy off the line of scrimmage, has the upside to be a better yak guy. But I like him here at 5.
I like what you're saying there, Snoog, because I think 101 is a tier by itself. I'm almost prepared to say 102 to 104 is tier 2B or 2A. And then there's just Tyson and Sadiq are right there, right? I think if you see Tyson or my guy here at 106, Kenyon Sadiq, get an ideal landing spot, they're talking about potentially the Eagles. There's a lot of spots in there that 15 to 20 range. The way he performed at 6'3", 241, Snoog, a vert of 43.5, broad of 13.3, and the 40 at 4.39 was the greatest tight end 40 at the combine we've ever seen. So I know you said Vernon Davis. He's got a unicorn type vibe. The difference between him and some of the other tight ends in this class is he does it all. He's a good blocker as well. Like he really fits the mold of San Francisco if they didn't believe Kittle was coming back. I think he could really, in the right system that features the tight end, this guy could be a monster. So I feel like 102 to 106 is a little bit closer than where it was before this combine started. I think he has now made the 106 more valuable. He was our 106 from the beginning, right? But now I think he's definitely improved his stock, but not enough unless you play in 0.75 tight end premium or 2 tight end leagues. I think he's your 106 in every league. I think it's a smash pick there. And you and I said this from January. We're like, there's 6 guys that are going to be in this class that we're firmly believe in this. The 3 wide receivers, the 1 tight end, the 1 running back, and the 1 quarterback, which is really nice, right? Because you have whatever you need, you can move around in there. That creates an opportunity to make trades. And I think everyone is really like blinding themselves where they're looking at, the draft capital of these guys, Snoog, this is going to blow your mind. But when I was looking this up, the 101 goes 208 in a startup. The 102, 302. Now get this. The 103 and 104 go in the middle of the 5th. The 105 goes in the 6th, and the 106 isn't going till the middle of the 7th round. That is a steal. Right now, according to Dynasty Data Lab ADP, Kenyon Sadiq at the 106 is going after DK Metcalf, Jared Goff, and even guys like Javonte Williams. That just shouldn't happen. That's insane to me. We need to correct that. Now's where it gets tricky, right? We did our tiers. For me, you got Love by himself. We just talked about that 2A, 2B, or one complete tier at 2. We're moving to tier 3 here, and there's a guy that I'm going to be honest, like you've turned me on to him, but I think if he gets the right landing spot, he goes to Buffalo, we're going to consider him in this tier.
Yeah, I agree. I think the combine matters for a lot of people, but I think it matters more based on what your style of play is. Omar Cooper, 4.42 at 200 pounds. Like the best part of his game is, strong hands, catching the ball through traffic, winning after the catch. He's literally a running back playing the wide receiver position, in my opinion. Great production at Indiana. Had like 10 plus TDs, 900 plus yards this year. He's just a dynamic playmaker, and a lot of the big NFL draft scouts and the guys that are all over, watching film, like, Jeremiah and Lance Zierlein, all these guys are starting to really come around on Omar Cooper. He was 19th on Daniel Jeremiah's big board. Like, that's the stuff I want to see, because he's hearing stuff that's saying, maybe we're too low on this guy, right? I'm getting buzzed that he's going first round. He had I think it was 18 teams he met with at the combine. It was ridiculous like that. I think he's going in round 1. I'd be absolutely shocked if a team in that late round doesn't take a shot on him. Like Buffalo, New England, Texans, all those teams need this type of player in their offense to take it to the next level. And he's literally catches everything. He's phenomenal through traffic, strong hands, wins after the catch, like a running back. At the 107 here, I'm just going to take the guy that probably gets the best draft capital landing spot here, or I think has the highest upside. And I think Omar Cooper has the highest upside here. I
like that a lot. And looking at the board here, I mean, that is a very phenomenal pick. I've literally stuck to my 107. It hasn't changed for me. It's Denzel Boston. I know a lot of people are going to be like, during the gauntlet, during the drills, he had 2 drops. Snoog, he had 2 drops all last year. Sometimes what you see on the tape, I understand. You've been through job interviews. I've been through job interviews, right? And this is the biggest job interview of their life. And sometimes people ask you a question or you perform a certain way under pressure, and you're just like, it doesn't quite click. That does what I saw on the tape. Some of these guys, like Carnell Tate, his game speed does not look the same as his 40 speed.
Yeah.
What I saw from Denzel Boston, he looks the part of a Drake London Mike Evans, not quite, on the light end, but he's got incredibly soft hands, 6'2", someone that I think is going to potentially be in that 20 range that we all want all the wide receivers to go. He looks like a great fit for Pittsburgh. He looks like a great fit for Buffalo. He looks like, there's a lot of scenarios here where you got a big-bodied wide receiver, better Michael Pittman, Mike Evans light, whatever you want to call it. I still think at 108, Denzel Boston is a really good value in this particular draft. And we're looking at, keep saying this is a bad class, but you're still looking at a round 1 wide receiver. He will be getting drafted round 1. I see that as almost a absolute certainty. You're getting him here at 108. And I think the guy at 109 ultimately goes in the first round as well.
Yeah, I think all these guys are in that conversation right now to be, the 107, be the, the 4th wide receiver taken, be the wide receiver 4 in this class. For a long time, I was Casey Concepcion, wide receiver 4. I loved it when I first watched his tape. He's just that stylish receiver I like, that twitchy, fast guy, route runner, separator. I just don't know what his true ceiling is. I just don't see a wide receiver 1 outcome from this guy. I think he's more of a Jordan Addison ceiling than a Garrett Wilson ceiling. I don't think he's polished enough and as good of a tenacious verse press coverage, one-on-one winner on the outside as those guys. But I think he's just so dynamic and such a fun player. Ceiling, you're looking at a Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers type with first round draft capital, in my opinion. I can be so fluid. These guys are probably 4A, 4B, 4C, and I know it feels like cheating doing that, but it's that close this year for a lot of these wideouts. It comes down to where did they go? Did they land in the hands of the right coach with how they play and all that good stuff? But Concepcion had great, production alongside other NFL talent at A&M. So 109 here feels like a really good pick for him.
So this is where the combine has risen. There's a guy that I had as a first rounder before pretty much anybody. I mean, I was saying this guy's going to be a Superflex round 1 pick, especially playing tight end premium. At 0.75 tight end premium or 2 tight end, I'm taking him over Denzel Boston, but that's Eli Stowers. He had a phenomenal, at 6'3", 239, he actually outperformed Kenyon Sadiq in a lot of ways. I mean, he ran a 4.51, which is fantastic. He had a larger broad jump at 13.5. Snoog, his vert, 45.5. The best we've seen since 2003. And a 10 cone at 159. My man has got some serious athleticism. The only reason I do not have him higher, and this is what we really got to look into, is he needs to be a move tight end or he needs to be in that joker role. His blocking is atrocious. He is a horrible blocker, right? But if you get him into an Evan Ingram role You get him into a David Njoku role. David Njoku can block, but someone that's more that move tight end, Harold Fannin, like in the right offense, this guy could be special. I keep seeing the Falcons potentially taking him in early round 2. I think there's a lot of opportunities here for a guy like Eli Stowers to increase in value. I already have him as a top 12 dynasty tight end. I think he's up there in that. By the time we're said and done, we saw what 2024 had, 2025. These 2 tight ends in 2026 are really special, and I think they're ultimately going to round out that top 8 in Dynasty when it's all said and done. Now we got to talk about the position that everybody always wants, right? Everybody wants running backs. These running backs in this class, outside of Love, are very dependent on their landing spot and their draft capital. There's one guy for you that's a little bit above the rest. Tell me why you're taking Jonah Coleman here at 11. And I want to know, how close would he be if he goes to the right landing spot as a starter to that 107?
Yeah, I mean, the production, the analytics were by far the best in the class alongside Jeremiah Love, like right below him. Like nobody was even close to him in this class at the running back position. And then I watched the film, and the film followed, right? Like the footwork, the elusiveness, the vision runs through your face. He's literally like a mini Cam Scatabo. And I loved Cam Scatabo last year. So that's probably why I'm like so excited about Jonah Coleman. I don't care that he didn't run the 40. He's not fast. It's not his game. He has burst. He's 5'8", 220. He's an absolute bowling ball. He's just going to be a guy that I think goes in, round 3, maybe round 2, but probably round 3 or 4, and just ends up being the RB1 because he's too good to not be on the field, like a Bucky Irving, like a Cam Scatabo. So for me, I'm betting on production analytics in the film here at the 111. I think he has the best shot at giving you the best bang for your buck and ceiling here out of the rest of the guys left. And I think he's just levels ahead of, Price, Emmett Johnson, and a lot of these guys that, 1, tested bad at the combine, and 2, came in really light, and 3, the film wasn't as good. So why not just take Coleman here?
Holy smokes, dropping it in here. Said, my fam on a Sunday, it must be church. It's smash time. I love it. Honestly, I don't see the gap between Jonah Coleman and Jadarian Price being as large as you have it right now. But I mean, acceleration, vision, contact balance. I think this guy has it all. I think he ran a 4.5, so that's at least checks the boxes there for us. I think he's faster than that. Like you saw some of the breakaway speed on kick returns. Like this is, I don't want to say this is Jeremiah Love light, but he looks the part. If you get him to the Texans, you get him. I see a lot of mocks having him in that early to mid round 2, Snoog. And if he gets the draft capital, I think you got to shoot him up boards. I mean, we like the wide receivers there. You and I even just mentioned after when I talked about Boston and you talked about Concepcion, there were good things. They're going to go round 1, but then there was some doubt in there, right? And if you're in your rookie draft and you see a guy like Jadarian Price go to Minnesota or go to Houston or go somewhere that he's going to have a chance to start pretty early, I think that rounds out your first round pretty nice there. I mean, you see that. You see 6 wide receivers. That's clearly the strong point in the draft. You see 2 tight ends here. That's a nice uptick because your Stowers really helped this draft a lot by getting into that round 1 area. And then you have 2 running backs rounding this out. I think if those 2 guys get the landing spots, and this is what sucks compared to last year, is like last year we were 15 deep, right? We were like, oh, Trey Harris could go 112. Well, you and I had Jackson Dart at 112. You could see Scatabo going at 112. This year isn't like that. You're not getting that cash reward where you're like, all right, I'm getting another baller day 1. But there are some nice values in here. I think we're looking at our clear tiers. We're looking at 1, 2 to 6 is pretty close. 7 to 9 or 10 gets really close there. And then I think 11 on is going to be very landing spot dependent. It's going to be very format dependent. And in Superflex, you have to consider Ty Simpson in this range.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Simpson here. I mean, I don't love the prospect, but I do think that he's the best bang for your buck here. If I can hit on a first-round QB at the 201 in a weak class, like I'm going to do it all day long. I mean, his draft capital is probably going to be solid to a good team, right? He's probably going to go anywhere from like 16 in the 20s or maybe in the late. Nah, there's nobody in that range, but you never know, right? Like he could go to one of those teams where it's like, great, Steelers at 21 or like something like that. Like I think he could get a really good situation, landing spot paired up with a good coach where he can return value, right? He could be maybe a Bo Nix light or a Jackson Dart light or a Michael Penix or a Tyler Shuck type of player. where he ends up being worth a first and you flip him, right? So I think this is the best process pick here. Although I don't love Ty Simpson, I'm going to bet on draft capital, the quarterback position in Superflex, and take him here because he did have some really good games at Bama. Pretty good arm talent. I think he's a pretty good processor. I just think it's under pressure stuff that he needs to get better at and against the blitz. And if he can polish that up and get better in that situation, then I think he can actually be a solid game manager at the next level.
I know we're going to get comments on this. We do rookie drafts, obviously in a linear format. This is just set up so you guys can see what it's supposed to look like a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the next pick for me, and I like that pick, is Elijah Surratt. I think you're looking at a big vertical wide receiver, tries to mirror his game off of Keenan Allen, but he's not that same level route runner. But this is someone that has elite ball skills. I think it's going to be a little bit more, we saw Mendoza trust him, throw those back shoulder fades. He's got a good understanding of where coverage is. He's physical, gets that, those yards after the catch. But this is someone that you're going to be looking at in the red zone. You're going to be looking at for contested catches. You're not going to be able to see like where you have you need him to be with a Josh Allen. You need him to be with a guy that's going to trust his wide receivers, that's going to throw up 50-50 balls. I would actually love him with Buffalo, but I think this guy's going to go round 2. And if he goes round 2 and you're talking about he goes at 202, I think this is a fair value. I mean, I don't think it's sexy. I'm not jumping up and down. I'm not like, all right, set it and forget it. I just won my league, right? Because at 202 last year, I took Cam Scatterbo everywhere, and I'm like, this is going to increase in value. This is definitely going to be worth a first. I cannot see a scenario right now, especially with the 27 class, that I'm going to be honest, after Cooper, I can't see a scenario where someone's trading the 27 first for Concepcion, for Stowers, for Coleman, for Price, Surratt, or Simpson at any point in the year. I just can't see it. And last year we were talking about that a lot, right? We're like, oh, you're going to be able to sell Scatterbo for a first plus. You're going to be able to sell Dart for a first plus. I don't think we're in that with those guys. But you're still value is value. We're moving around. We're filling in pieces for Dynasty. And a guy that rose his stock through the roof. And I want to hear you talk a little bit about his raw score because that was insane. But Mike Washington at the 203, I mean, he was barely considered at the 212 before we even started this process.
Yeah, I actually got the chance to dive into his tape about a month ago. And I was like, I love what I'm seeing. Like, he reminded me of like a better Antonio Gibson style of running back. Like when Gibson was with the, Commanders, when he was really cooking. I'm like, am I missing something with this guy? Like, why isn't everybody loving him? Like, I know people were saying like, oh, Mike Washington's the sleeper, this, that. It was like, it makes sense. I looked through the profile, is absolutely atrocious. Like 3 different schools, never had over like 3.2 yards after contact per attempt, forced missed tackles was like 28 was his highest or something low like that. So I was like, okay, there's a ton of red flags. I think he just completely trumped everything with that combine. Like the tape in the combine combined is worth enough to me to overcome that, especially at the running back position, because he ranked first out of 2,000 plus running backs since 1987 and all of raw score. Like he ran a 4.33 at 220 plus pounds. And he's 6'1", and his, his vertical was like a 39-inch. Like his broad jump was up in like the high 10s. Like if anyone's gonna get like that, whoa, he just went round 2, or whoa, he just went early round 3 as the second or third RB off the board, I feel like it's gonna be this guy. I could picture like ETN walking and Liam Cohen being like, this guy's a freak of nature. He fits my style of running back. Let me draft him and pair him up with Bashal Tutin as a 1-2 punch. Like I could see that type of thing happening. And I can also see a team just like, this guy's way too genetically gifted. Let him, come sit, let him develop a little behind like a Derrick Henry or behind a Kamara or James Conner for a little bit, and then get ready to play next year. So I think he's just a big bang for your buck upside here, and he catches the football. So it's interesting.
We're talking about bang for your buck upside, risk reward. Chris Brazell at the 204, I think, is your ultimate swing for the fences, right? We've done it in the past with guys like Xavier Legette, and it didn't pan out. And I feel like we've done it in the past with guys that have a profile. I mean, this guy's 6'5", advanced separator, someone that has great body control. But Snoog, he ran a 4.37 with a false start. Like, I think this guy literally has like 4.32 type speed. I mean, the second time he was just making sure he didn't have another false start and ran a 4.37. That's flying for a guy that, could see go late round 1. I've seen him comp to the Bills. I've seen him comp to the Broncos. I've seen a lot of spots where I'm like, if that happens, you have to. I mean, if he goes to Denver or Buffalo, I'm taking him over Jadarian Price. I'm. It's that high risk, high reward, late first, like swing for the fences type. And it didn't pan out for Quentin Johnson. It didn't pan out for Xavier Legette. But when it hits, hits big. And I'm perfectly fine in this class because we look at the second rounders, and this might be one of my favorite picks in the second round. It's not my favorite. We'll get to there for just incredible, but you got to swing for the fences, right? Like the safety of the second round is kind of gross. Like it's just not what we want it to be. Next year's class, 27 seconds. I could probably list 6 guys that I prefer over the 201 once we get past our top 12. Like I could think of 18 guys worth more than the 201. That's wild, but that's the way this class is. That doesn't mean you can't find value. And I keep saying that. Everybody in the Discord's like, or Twitter, I'm trading out. Wait, because Brazil gets a landing spot. Mike Washington gets a good landing spot. Sirach gets a good landing spot. Or the other USC, Jacoby Lane, wide receiver, gets a good landing spot. Could be big.
Yeah, he's another like Mike Washington for me. I love the tape. I love the film, and I love the skill set. But like the analytics and the production weren't through the roof. They were kind of, some red flags in there and stuff. But I give him the benefit of the doubt. This dude had 12 touchdowns on the same team as Mekhi Lemon and Zachariah Branch as a true sophomore at like 19 years old. This past year, alongside Mekhi Lemon, best wide receiver in the country, won the Biletnikoff Award, had 750 yards and 4 TDs, and was like an outstanding playmaker for them when they really needed a guy to win in one-on-one, go up and make a play. Like he's so good at winning in one-on-one, winning in contested catch, being an athlete. Like he reminds me of like a very dumbed down version of George Pickens, like just not that caliber of talent, but like he wins like a Pickens or he wins like an Allen Robinson. I don't know, maybe like a DJ Chark or like an Allen Hurns is a really good comp for Jacoby Lane. Like maybe he gives you a 1,000-yard season 1 year. I could see him going, round 2 after that combine, or mid to early round 2, maybe like early day 3 or round 3. But I love the tape. He catches everything. I mean, he's a good prospect. I think he is more polished than every wide receiver in this range other than Surratt. He's just maybe not as appealing as like a Brazil or some of these other guys to NFL draft scouts. So that's where it's going to be that juggle there. But I love what you said here, Dad. Everybody in this range with how cheap rookie picks are, shoot your poison, shoot your upside, right? You can't lose. 112 is worth what? Like a 10th, 9th, 8th round startup pick, probably like a mid to late 8th, maybe a 9th round startup pick. I think in my $500 startup it went. Like, what are you losing?
Yeah.
Take a shot on the best upside guy you can get.
There's a real disconnect in your startups. I'm glad you mentioned that because like 112 is going in the same range as guys that I consider to be like 205, like Zach Charbonnet. I'm like, why the heck would you take the known commodity of a decent running back? Or I saw someone trade the 112 for Chuba yesterday. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, it's still a first round rookie pick. It's still going to have value. The next guy here, I know a lot of people had as in their first round range. Snoog, you talked about Mike Washington's raw score being as elite as it was. Emmett Johnson's is a 5.85 out of 10. That is 879 out of 2,000 over the last 40 years. That's bad. That's bad. But the tape, I mean, I saw a lot of great lateral agility. He's a very good receiver with 45 plus receptions, 15 touchdowns, 1,800 all-purpose yards. I mean, I think the combine killed him, like value-wise. I think his value could have been a little bit higher, but there are guys where we're like, athletically, he doesn't test great, right? We've had Kareem Hunts and we've had guys where it's like, okay, this guy did not test the way we wanted him to test, but he's still a good football player. I think the interesting part to me here is like very similar to where Devin Neal was last year, right? We had Devin Neal in this range, and then Devin Neal's combine came out, and you're like, the hell with it. We're taking him at the end of the third. In this class, Emmett Johnson's here. We see what happens, and we're like, he's still a second, right? Like there's just not a lot changing. I think ultimately, if this next guy tested at the combine, you might be considering him as a late first. I think this could be your steal of the second round in Nicholas Singleton.
I think he would have been a Mike Washington. I think he really would have came out and ran a ridiculous 40.
But this is good for us.
Gym. Yeah. So I think we did. it's good for us, but it sucks for his draft capital because I think
Mhm.
he would have been like a cemented, locked in day 2, early, probably mid to late round 2 pick. But now that he has the broken foot, he's missing a lot of this time. It's just, I hope he goes round 4 better. Like, as long as he can go round 4, I think it's going to be good. He's a crazy athlete, crazy receiver, broke out as a true freshman, looked like the next freaking Saquon Barkley in his true freshman season, then kind of downhilled in his sophomore year, and then kind of jumped up again in his junior year, had a great junior year. In all reality, he should have declared last year. He would have went above Harvey. He would have went above Caleb Johnson in the NFL.
He was right behind Judkins for us.
He was right. He would have been in that RB4, RB 5 range. So I think he messed up by banking on Penn State being a national championship team, and the entire team fell to shit. And I think it messed up him, Andrew Aller, and Katron Allen's draft stocks. But I think that Singleton's a home run hitter, and I just don't think Penn State's offense was ever fit to suit his skill set as that downhill runner. He's more of that home run hitter, dynamic playmaker, and they've tried to use him as like a Katron Allen between the tackles guy, which is why Katron was better.
I'm going to continue to harp on this. Is it's nice seeing 5 running backs go from the 111 to the 207. Are they super talented? No. Do they need landing spots? Yes. So we're going to continue to build off of that because we have wide receivers like Antonio Williams, who just tested out phenomenally, right? It ran at the 4.41. Him and Skylar Bell, I think, really increased their stock. I mean, they were both guys that we had sleepers, 4.41, 4.42, respectively, 39.5, 41 vertical. You know, both of them in the top 3 in the broad jump at 11.1. They're projected top 100 picks. I mean, I think both these guys have to be moving up. I mean, we don't have Skylar Bell in this particular range, but I like what we saw from Clemson, wide receiver Antonio Williams. I think ultimately he's going to be a nice value in the second round, and he could go. I mean, I've seen drafts where he goes early second. If he goes early second, you got to really
bump him up.
Landing spots that really matter to me. I think Jeremiah Love goes 4 to the Titans, and I think they take a Cooper, a Williams, a Brazel as their wide receiver 1 in the early second, because this wide receiver class is actually pretty deep. You know, the rest of the class, not very deep at all. But that being said, talk to me a little bit here, because we talk about the running backs aren't deep, but you almost have to take your shots on your Emmett Johnsons, your Nicholas Singletons, your Katron Allens, because there's not much coming after that. I mean, after these guys, and this is the last running back taken in our mock, but then we're looking at what? I mean, Jaden Ott. You're looking at
Demon
Clayborn. I mean, it really falls off hard. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce his name, but yeah, I mean, Katron Allen, I think, is the most unique in this range, like compared to Washington, who's an athletic freak, Singleton, athletic freak receiver, Emmett Johnson, kind of that like scat back, shifty receiving back. Katron Allen's like that David Montgomery, freaking first and second down hammer, like a Jordan Howard, right? Big body, like 215 plus pounds, run through your face, great at getting you 4 or 5 yards of carry. A lot of teams need a player like him, where I think that he's going to get, Detroit. David Montgomery's gone. It's like pretty official now. Katron Allen to Detroit would be a phenomenal spot for him to keep Gibbs fresh. Some of these other teams, the Bears, to kind of, maybe that 1-2 punch with Swift and Monangai, or maybe Swift gets phased out and it's Monangai and Allen. So I think he has a unique skill set that none of these guys have. Could boost up his draft capital a lot, but 1,300 yards this past year. He made Nick Singleton look like he had an awful year, which is really impressive by Katron Allen. One of my personal favorites for, like, if I'm an NFL team drafting, I'm taking him over Johnson. I'm taking him over some of these guys because I think he's the most polished between the tackles and ready to go for day one.
What's crazy to me is the guy like Zachariah Branch dropping to 210 in our particular mock here. But I'm not going to lie and say that if he gets a good landing spot, he couldn't be the 112. Like all these guys, it's going to mean so much. And that's why it's so important that you guys focus in on what matters. You kind of get yourself set up, because a lot of you guys are just don't know what to do with this class. Check it out down below, patreon.com/smashaccept. For as low as $5 a month, you can get in there and you can get my rankings, Snoog's rankings, are the way we have everything set up. For $10 a month, you can get expedited, you're within 4-hour response time, plus a little bit more TLC. And then we have an ultimate tier where you're literally there to do everything for you, to help you guys, teach you guys the ways of how we do it, everything. But I love Zachariah Branch running a 4.36 elite speed. He's going to get drafted higher than most people think. right? Like I could see him going round 1 to a Steelers, to a Bills, to an Eagles, maybe even a team that just wants to take the top off the defense. And I'm not here to judge from the NFL draft points of who's picking where, but I think he has a ton of talent. I think he's got a ton of speed. The size, he's a little bit undersized. Like his size reminds me a lot of Zay Flowers, but they don't play the same. Zay Flowers is a human joystick. Zachariah Branch more
Hollywood Brown.
Okay,
Hollywood
I can
Brown
see that.
Is what I saw on tape.
And he had some solid tape. I really, if the next guy wasn't injured, I'm just saying this guy could be an absolute steal in your late second to mid second.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Chris Bell here. I was out at him as a first round rookie cost, but like 211, you get in the second round range, you're betting on upside. I mean, he's like 6'2", 210 plus pounds, good athlete, vertical threat. Like I just think in the right situation with the right coach, maybe he kind of develops a little bit and becomes, a good value here, or just a high ceiling play. So I'll take the shot here. I mean, his analytics and his production were pretty solid at Louisville, had really good years. Like it's either you're getting like a Leggett or you're getting maybe like lucky with like a Godwin or a Juju type of like big power slot type of maybe a Chase Claypool vibe. But I'll take the shot here at 211. I think it's great value. And I'm still seeing like buzz around this guy potentially being a first round pick, which I think would be absolutely crazy for a team to do. But second round, I think you could lock him in.
All right. Just Incredible asked, who's the best value in the second round of your draft? If you're playing Superflex, you're going to hate it, but it's Drew Aller. Drew Aller in 2024 was looked at as potentially a guy that could go 1 overall in the NFL draft, right? Like there was rumor of that. And then he played in the bowl game and you're like, okay, it was not pretty. He went back to school, and very much like Dante Moore. 2025 was a disaster. I mean, he was injured. Things didn't work well. His combine was phenomenal. Like this guy has a rocket arm. I love about 45 minutes ago, this guy on Twitter, you might know him, FFSnoog, put Drew Aller that's like when the show started. That's awesome. Is the Tyler Shuck of this class. Like I could see him going round 2 and gaining phenomenal amounts of value. Like if he goes round 2 and we keep talking about a lot of teams that really need quarterbacks, but they could find a bridge, Arizona. Right? Because there's so many. I know, right? Well, I think Malik Willis is going to Arizona, but I mean, there's bridges out there right now. Like Kirk Cousins is a bridge. There's guys that are in free agency. You're like, oh, I can see them filling in for a year or less. And then Drew Aller, the guy that he goes to the right situation, he plays there for a couple of months, and now all of a sudden, like, dude, Kirk Cousins goes back to Minnesota. They're talking about trading McCarthy, and then Drew Aller takes over halfway through the year. Like, there's a lot of scenarios where you just say, this guy's value could skyrocket. And I think a lot can be said there in this range from that 212 to 305 with Carson Beck, Garrett Nussmeier. Like they're going to get opportunities because I think both of them, all three of those guys are going to get drafted in round 2 or round 3. Doesn't mean they're going to be starters, but they're going to have opportunity. And I think that's really what matters here because this is it, man. This is your board. This is your top 24 right now. What sticks out to you, Snoog? Because this is the first time we've done it. We've done this on the fly, so we weren't sitting here talking about X, Y, and Z. What jumps off the board here if you're like, okay, all right, this is what it looks like? Tell me the first thing you see.
I love being in the top 6 now. For a while, I thought you had to be in the top 5, but the fact that I have so many 106s somehow and just missed the 105, I feel really good about everyone I reached out to and said, look, what can I give you to move up into the top 5 from the 106? And they're telling me a 27 first, another first, a 28 first, a bunch of value. I'm like, I'm sticking and picking. Now I think it's a lot closer where it's like, now I have some leverage in these heavy tight end premium formats where maybe I just get Tyson at 6, or I get maybe if Carnell Tate or Lemon get a bad landing spot, they fall to me at 6. So I really like it here. And I think that's a really good value. I think picking 7 through 10, I think you're in good range here at cost, right? Like the 107 through 110 this year aren't like normal rookie drafts where you can just flip 107 for T Higgins plus, or flip it for, a Luther Burden plus or a Chris Olave or something like that. It's like, maybe you can get friggin' Devontae Smith, or maybe you can get some of these guys. It's like, maybe it's time to just re-roll and try to hit on that next guy.
That's a great point because we did and now that March is rolling around, we are going to do our equivalents again, but it's changed completely, right? Because there was a time where we were saying at the 107, you could trade that for AJ Brown. You could trade that for Javonte Williams. You could trade that for Tucker Kraft. I don't think that's happening anymore. I think we have to really honestly assess the board and realize that as much as I like Cooper, Boston, and Concepcion, if they don't go to the Bills, that's a rough zone to be in, but it could be a great zone to be in, right? And then I'll put Stowers in that same area too. Same with like Coleman and Price. Let's say they go round 3, but they go to a spot where they're going to, I would hate it, but let's say they go to the Raiders as like the backup for Genti. You know what I mean? Because they're talking about having a two down back.
Yep.
I think Coleman, Price, Washington, Johnson, Singleton, Allen are insurance running backs. I think 2 of them are going to get an opportunity to start. Yeah, they're going to get well, I think this class is ultimately, to me, it's 2022, right? You have Breece Hall going at 1, and then you look at one quarterback. Everybody was trying to make it, obviously Kenny Pickett, but he wasn't in that area. We had 3 elite wide receivers with London, Olave, and Wilson. It just, there's so many ways that you look at this class and you're like, this looks like 2022 all over again. It's just going to be finding your prizes in that class, which there were some guys in that class that really have panned out to be something special, but you're going to have to be in there. You're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to grind. Yep. Best place to do that right there down below, patreon.com/smash accept. So thank you so much for tuning.
June just said in the comments before we kick it off, do they have a Discord? This link right here is how you get into the Discord, June. So patreon.com/smash accept, and I'll kick it back to you to hit the outro.
No, that's perfectly good. Because Patreon is just the shell to collect to be into the Discord. A lot of people get confused by that. So a lot of you guys have messaged me like, yo, Dad, I joined the Patreon. I don't see any content. You're not joining anything. You're just, if you sign up for free, you're just in there. There's nothing. When you sign up for that $5 a month, you get the link to the Discord. The Discord's where all the action is. I mean, guys are running mock drafts. We're putting in orphans. We're putting in content. We're putting in, there are like 6 analysts in there that are part of this research team that are putting things on, as well as Snoog and I. So can't beat that price for $5 a month right now. $5. Seriously. If you can't swing that in March, that's the way to do it. Get it done. So thanks again for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process.